Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. She had a very stern face, and Harry's first thought was that this was not someone to cross. Harry could hear the drone of hundreds of voices from a doorway to the right. The rest of the school must already be here, but Professor McGonagall showed the first years into a small empty chamber off the hall. Harry nervously tried to flatten his hair. Harry swallowed. Harry's heart gave a horrible jolt. Harry tried hard not to listen to her. Feeling oddly as though his legs had turned to lead, Harry got into line behind a boy with sandy hair, with Ron behind him, and they walked out of the chamber, back across the hall, and through a pair of double doors into the Great Hall. Harry had never even imagined such a strange and splendid place. Mainly to avoid all the staring eyes, Harry looked upwards and saw a velvety black ceiling dotted with stars. Harry quickly looked down again as Professor McGonagall silently placed a four-legged stool in front of the first years. Maybe they had to try and get a rabbit out of it, Harry thought wildly. That seemed the sort of thing. Noticing that everyone in the hall was now staring at the hat, he stared at it too. "So we've just got to try on the hat," Ron whispered to Harry. Harry smiled weakly. The hat seemed to be asking rather a lot. Harry didn't feel brave or quick-witted or any of it at the moment. Harry saw the ghost of the fat friar waving merrily at her. Brocklehurst Mandy went to Ravenclaw too, but Brown Lavender became the first new Gryffindor, and the table on the far left exploded with cheers. Harry could see Ron's twin brothers catcalling. Perhaps it was Harry's imagination. After all, he'd heard about Slytherin, but he thought they looked an unpleasant lot. Sometimes, Harry noticed, the hat shouted out the house at once, but at others it took a little while to decide. Finnegan Seamus, the sandy-haired boy next to Harry in the line, sat on the stool for almost a whole minute before the hat declared him a Gryffindor. A horrible thought struck Harry, as horrible thoughts always do when you're very nervous. "Potter, Harry." As Harry stepped forward, whispers suddenly broke out like little hissing fires all over the hall. "Potter, did she say? The Harry Potter?" The last thing Harry saw before the hat dropped over his eyes was the hall full of people craning to get a good look at him. Harry gripped the edges of the stool and thought, "Not Slytherin, not Slytherin." Harry heard the hat shout the last word to the whole hall. Harry sat down opposite the ghost in the rough he'd seen earlier. The ghost patted his arm, giving Harry the sudden, horrible feeling he'd just plunged it into a bucket of ice-cold water. Harry grinned back. Harry recognized him at once from the card he got out of the chocolate frog on the train. Harry spotted Professor Quirrell, too, the nervous young man from the leaky cauldron. Harry crossed his fingers under the table, and a second later the hat had shouted, "Gryffindor!" Harry clapped loudly with the rest as Ron collapsed into the chair next to him. "Well done, Ron, excellent," said Percy Weasley pompously across Harry as Zabini Blaze was made a Slytherin. Harry looked down at his empty gold plate. Harry didn't know whether to laugh or not. "Potatoes, Harry?" Harry's mouth fell open. The Dursleys had never exactly starved Harry, but he'd never been allowed to eat as much as he liked. Dudley had always taken anything that Harry really wanted, even if it made him sick. Harry piled his plate with a bit of everything except the humbugs and began to eat. "That does look good," said the ghost in the ruff sadly, watching Harry cut up his steak. Harry looked over at the Slytherin table and saw a horrible ghost sitting there with blank staring eyes, a gaunt face, and robes stained with silver blood. He was right next to Malfoy, who, Harry was pleased to see, didn't look too pleased with the seating arrangements. As Harry helped himself to a treacle tart, the talk turned to their families. On Harry's other side, Percy Weasley and Hermione were talking about lessons. "I do hope they start straight away. There's so much to learn. I'm particularly interested in transfiguration, turning something into something else. Of course, it's supposed to be very difficult. You'll be starting small, just matches into needles and that sort of thing." Harry, who was starting to feel warm and sleepy, looked up at the high table again. The hook-nosed teacher looked past Quirrell's turban straight into Harry's eyes, and a sharp, hot pain shot across the scar on Harry's forehead. Harry clapped a hand to his head. Harder to shake off was the feeling Harry had got from the teacher's look, the feeling that he didn't like Harry at all. Harry watched Snape for a while, but Snape didn't look at him again. Harry laughed, but he was one of the few who did. Harry noticed that the other teacher's smiles had become rather fixed. Harry's legs were like lead again, but only because he was so tired and full of food. They climbed more staircases, yawning and dragging their feet, and Harry was just wondering how much further they had to go when they came to a sudden halt. "Great food, isn't it?" Ron muttered to Harry through the hangings. Harry was going to ask Ron if he'd had any of the treacle tart, but he fell asleep almost at once. Perhaps Harry had eaten a bit too much because he had a very strange dream. Harry told the turban he didn't want to be in Slytherin. It got heavier and heavier. He tried to pull it off, but it tightened painfully, and there was Malfoy laughing at him as he struggled with it. Then Malfoy turned into the hook-nosed teacher Snape, whose laugh became high and cold. There was a burst of green light, and Harry woke, sweating and shaking.